Hello and welcome to another episode of my technology podcast. I'm your host, Bastian Noffer. And this week we're going to discuss a topic that is pretty close to my heart because it involves that I am visually impaired. I did not discuss this on the podcast. I think I didn't write that on the website as well. But viewers of the video version of the podcast probably have noticed that my eyes are sometimes doing a bit weird things, looking not at the at you or at the camera. And the reason for that is that I have not enough optical nerves, and my eyes are missing a point that is called the point for sharp sightedness or the point for sharp sight. I'm not really sure how it's properly called in English. And the latter one is actually the reason why my eyes are not going where you would normally expect them to go. And that's not a problem per se, because my eyes are basically constantly having to refocus. Yeah, that's the whole issue with my eyes rolling around. But the main disability basically is that I have not enough optical nerves. So to use a technology example, I'm trying to push data intended for a fiber connection through a classic DSL line. So there is stuff that is getting dropped because it's just too much. Or if you take a stream and the quality has to be reduced so that the smaller bandwidth of the internet line can actually handle it. And I'm bringing that up because I think it's a topic worthwhile talking about, of being a software engineer, a technology professional with a handicap. And also showing people that having a handicap should not limit you to do the things that you love to do. My personal journey has been very bumpy and a lot of struggles. School time wasn't easy. My first 2 years of university were not easy for me. I just already discussed those in a previous episode of the podcast. In hindsight, those 2 years were not a struggle for me per se due to my disability, but just of the way of learning. And this is important to know and see what is the actual thing that is impacting you at that particular moment. And often you don't see that or acknowledge that. And only at a later date you find out, oh man, that wasn't due to me being stupid or me having issues to follow the stuff visually during the lectures. No, it was just my brain is wired differently than some other people's brains are wired. So I have to use stuff, I have to experience stuff to fully grasp it. And coming to that understanding took a while. Because I did not have that understanding when I switched universities to the University of Applied Sciences in Venlo at Fontes. It's it was really like I had to prove myself, and I was really, really pushing myself to the limits. So really different to what it has been, for example, during my school time, where I would have had much more issues if I would not have had the support and the help from my parents. And the issues during my school time were very broad. I was lucky that I was able to do the education that I did. But the most important thing out of all those struggles that I can give to handicapped people, whether you have a disability with your arms, legs, whatever, so a limb-based disability, or if you have eyesight issues, like me, for example, don't feel discouraged. The biggest learning out of my life is just talk with people in advance. Talk with them, involve them in a discussion, and more often than not, people will be willing to actually work with you and help you getting to the goal you want to be going to. And this is true especially for your education phase, but it's also true when you go into your professional work life. Because only if you communicate with people, then people can actually change their stance towards you and accept you, and this will work out. For years, I worked in smaller teams and companies, and it was all working fine. That I did not have much issues due to my disability. But when I took my present role as a team lead, that was quite a change for me, because we had at some point had a team of 8 people, and we had, since we were using the Scrum framework as our agile methodology, we had our sprint meetings, and we worked with boards, even physical ones. And I was myself pretty unsure at the beginning how that would work out. But my team and we found a very good middle ground. So even if I was not standing in front of the whiteboard, due to the discussion, I was getting what was presented, and I was able to follow. And it's strange, even with my disability, I am a very visual person. I like to illustrate stuff. For example, when I'm discussing something with a team member, I rather take the person to the whiteboard and make a quick sketch than just discussing the topic on its own. Because, yeah, an illustration says more than 1,000 words. This is a common saying, but it's true, from my opinion. And that's, for example, also something to go a bit off topic. What is really missing for me in the current work from home environment? To give another example, last year we were attending the virtual conference from the Exam Expert Day, which is a conference that is held each year by the Examiner and User Group Cologne. Shout out to those guys for the awesome work that they're doing each year. And due to the virtual format last year, they actually had a blind presenter. And even for me, as someone who has a visual disability, I am always fascinated on how blind people manage to work and what tricks they're using to replace the eyesight. Yeah? Because for me, for example, I am just having my displays closer to me using a zoom function to assist me, or more or less replace the focusing that my eyes are missing. Yeah, that's how I use it, but that's for me a very special use case. And I also know only one person that I've met in my whole life that has the same disability. So what I have as a disability is very rare. And so even I am always blown away how blind people are moving through the world and doing interactions. And even the presentation that this developer, I think he was from middle or South America, if I remember correctly, he did a really good job of the presentation. And he did a presentation on accessibility, what things are important to him, or important to users of the voice assisted functionalities. Like on iOS it's called voiceover. I don't know how it's called on Android at the moment, but this shows you that even if you're having a disability, you can have a fruitful and enjoyable career as a technology professional, as a software engineer, or whatever it may be in the tech field. But for all this, it is important to keep in mind: take help, search help, see what's possible, involve people into your journey, and in the end, you will reach your goal. You will find your tweaks and hacks to do the thing that you are really passionate about. For example, a hack that I did myself was back in, what was it, 2013, 14, I don't know. I really don't know when I actually wrote the app. But there were a lot of magnifying apps on the iOS App Store. And for years, I have been using my phone and later my smartphone as a tool, for example, to read signs in train stations or airports. And when I wanted to try out several of these magnifying apps to make my life perhaps a bit easier than using the Photos app, making a picture, and then looking at the zoomed in picture to read the sign. I found those apps all much too complicated. They were not quick to use. In the end, I wrote my own app. And this app was very simple. It had two faders, one for the uh, flashlight of the phone, which you can regulate in intensity as a flashlight, and a slider for the zoom factor. And then I integrated a button for switching different color filters. I don't use those, but I thought when I released that app to the App Store, there are a lot of people with eyesight issues that really like to use those color filters and inverse filters because it makes it easier for them to discern details in an image. Another hack that I did back in the day when I was studying in Karlsruhe, it was yeah, think about it, it was 2003 4. I was using intentionally Linux distribution on my personal laptop because I was able to grab via console the live video feed from a DV video camera, so those small ones with tape, and actually pipe that signal to my display, so I was able to watch the contents of the projector screen or the chalkboards, so I could follow the lecture. And all those small hacks that you find on the line, where you make solutions your own, and when you then discuss those two solutions with other people, you get feedback and you come up with new ideas. You evolve those things. For example, this Linux hack thing got replaced for me in 2005 with much nicer solutions. And then, since I switched to an Apple iBook and macOS at the time, and there was just a program available that was open source. I was able to download it, connect my FireWire camera, and it was working, streamlining the whole process for me. And I used that setup, I think, during my whole study, so till 2009. And it was really working well. It was a nice solution for me to get the contents of the lecture onto my screen, so I was able to actually read it. And yeah, a combination of communicating hacks will get you where you want to be. And I can really encourage everyone with a handicap: follow your passion, make your dreams happen. Talk to people, get support, find the right tools, the right ways to do things with your disability, so you can do the things that you love and want to do. I'm consciously not talking about the money aspect, because, of course, it's easier when you have money in your family, but there is so much support for, depending on what kind of disability you have, that perhaps you don't even have to have the money yourself, because there are organizations that can help you get the tools that you need to live a prosperous life with your disability. It really depends on what your actual disability is. And there are solutions. Yeah, you just have to engage finding solutions, finding people that can help you, that enable you to do those things. One last thing to the not disabled people that are listening to this or watching this on YouTube, or by the way, we are on Odyssey today as well. And don't be afraid to engage with handicapped people. Don't be ashamed when you realize that they're handicapped, because in the end, we are all humans. People with a handicap may need your help, but they may not. Just engage in an open discussion. Don't be afraid. Don't feel ashamed. Because in the end, something might happen to you in your life where the roles are at some point reversed. And this can happen. We're all not immune to accidents happening in our lives. And if something happens, you will be glad that you have people around you that support you. Really engage with everyone, handicapped or not, because in the end, we're all humans and we're all in this together. And I let this be the closing remarks of today's episode. I hope that these insights and this discussion was helpful for somebody of you. And if you want to have a discussion, leave a comment on the YouTube video, or on odyssey.com, or on Spreaker, or of course on our website bnonet.com, and we will have a discussion. If you have suggestions for topics, or you want to learn more about something I said during this episode or a previous episode, let me know. And I will find a spot in the podcast schedule so that we can do a follow-up on that. We will be back next week on Sunday, 8 p.m. Central European Time on YouTube with the premiere of the next episode. And on 8:30 p.m. it will hit the podcast sites. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.